Welcome to the CEO Tech Talks podcast, where vision meets impact. I am your host, Ambreen Ahmed. Each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are shaping the future of business, technology, and transformation. This show is about more than just success. It's about clarity, purpose, and those bold decisions that light the way forward. Join me as we uncover the insights, challenges, and breakthroughs from today's most inspiring voices. Leaders who are redefining what it means to lead in a rapidly changing world. This is CEO Tech Talks. Let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by Garrett Grajek, better known as the Identity Guy and CEO of UAttest. Garrett is a certified security engineer and product builder with over 25 years of IT security product creation. He has 15 U.S. patents for information security products. Welcome, Garrett, and thanks for joining.
Great. Yeah. Great to be here.
Well, let's get into it. Tell us about your role at UAttest and what UAttest is all about.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm a CEO and founder, so that pretty much details everything to product builder and, waste basket removal guy. So, do it all here. But what's most relevant is that my identity background in the last 30 years led me to something that the industry has not yet solved very succinctly, is identifying who has access to our sensitive data and do it in a quantified, repeatable, and easy way that we can do it across the enterprise. So that's what we're focused here on UAttest. Who has an existing enterprise, given access to sensitive data and sensitive information?
Okay, well, that sounds exciting. There's a lot of ways to breach security these days, so always looking to evolve. Well, what does a typical day look like for you?
Typical day looks like start the day usually responding to my overseas emails. We have customers in the EU, UK, so we have to stay on top of those. And then it's usually looking at, and I be straight. I like to communicate and get our message out on LinkedIn. So I always start a day of messaging what we're interested in, what's happening in the world, and set the tone. And then it's basically what we do. It's doing a lot of sales and partner calls, and then strategy calls in the afternoon with the engineering team. Where do we want to go with the product? What we should be doing? Yes. So that's a typical day.
Okay. So why has identity become the control plane for cybersecurity?
Well, it's because it's what's always been there, and then what's been removed. And whatever I'm going with that is that identity has always been key to, okay, who gets access to this file, who gets it. But what's been removed is pretty much the network controls. Once upon a time, it's like, yeah, we had ID and passwords in our systems, but Garrett, unless you got through that front gate, right, and then logged on a machine that was inside the system, you literally had no access because the computer was local, it was local information. So that type of perimeter and physical perimeter security was relevant. And then there's network perimeter security. Well, now with SaaS apps and cloud apps, there is no perimeter. The perimeter is how long it takes you to take your phone out of your pocket. And then that's it. Now you're into the domain of the application with the sensitive data. Anyone in the world, okay? Because the resources are usually SaaS or cloud-based. And so the only control we have left is the identity access authorization and thus the audit of those controls.
Okay. So what personal moment made you realize identity was fundamentally broken?
Well, I've been doing identity for 25 years. I was hired as a SE at one of the founding identity companies, RSA Security. When it was, they had the secure ID, but it was a multi-factor company. And I went around telling people that two-factor was important by installing that type of two-factor. From there, my career merged into authorization by creating a product from scratch that did single sign-on and two-factor in one product. That was a product called SecureAuth. And then from there, I built AI solutions around identity at Cylance, which was a really great company, real and out of its time, and allowed me to think through things that were which were relevant. How do we use other factors and signals and combine them into an AI score to better identify a user, not only at login time, but during the time? And then I went from there to creating UATest, which is in the trilogy of identity, there is authentication, then
Hmm.
there's authorization, and then there's audit. So the beginning of my career was authentication with RSA, and then doing two-factor at Secure Auth, which included authorization, and then jumping into now audit, which is who have we given access to? And that's what UATest is.
Okay. So why start you a test when so many identity vendors already exist?
Well, they're focused on the other A's, to be blunt. They're focused on the authentication. There's a lot of good products in authentication, and hats off to them. And the big battle right now is I see all the time is, am I an Okta shop or am I a Entra ID shop? And, and then there's the other products, things in that space, joined with ForgeRock and Jump Cloud and others. What I have not seen is people simplifying the audit space. There's wonderful products in this space. I don't put them down. They're very good, but they're not designed to deploy rapidly. They are extremely good and have a lot of features. But if you say, great, can I drop this in and start running an audit today? They would laugh. They would say, no, that's not how it's run. It literally, the products take anywhere from 3 months minimal to anywhere to 18 months to get them up and running. And
Mhm.
we differentiate, UATest differentiates by saying, you got a project, let's go. This is a SaaS operator. We'll plug into your existing identities, or we'll knock it out with anything you have, and we can get you going in an hour. And that's different.
Wow.
Yeah. In an hour, we can have you up and auditing.
Okay. So, okay. So if you were to explain in plain English, what problem do you actually solve for? Who's in there?
Let's just start. I'm a pharmaceutical company because we have
Mhm.
pharmaceuticals. Don't need to name them, but we have them. You're a pharmaceutical company. You have all these regulations about who has access to the patient information, PHI, personal healthcare information, and extrapolate. Same thing in finance. Same thing in insurance. Okay, so you have all these systems. Some of them connected to your Okta intern, some of them not. Some of them just standalone, but they all have access to information, and you both for cybersecurity reasons and for audit reasons have to review who has access. Okay. How do you do that? Well, the standard way is to dump out the permissions into a spreadsheet and send an email around. Hey, Bob, Jane, Mohammed, you're the manager. Check this list. Is this list relevant? Okay. That's going on as we speak, thousands of times all across America, all across the world. The people are reviewing.
Mhm.
That's painful. That's what we solved. We literally solved and said, okay, if someone's doing a audit, what's best? Let's input that into a system. Let the GRC, governance, risk, and compliance person, or the cybersecurity person, literally look at his GUI, select what he wants to do. I want to review this group because this group has access to this segment in the network. I want to review this app because everyone with this app can possibly get access to this. That's what the product does. And it allows them to then run an attestation. It pushes out this person, according to the information you uploaded to me, has access to this data. Is that relevant? Is that pertinent now? And then the workflow kicks in because we've done like 4.3 million of these. It says this person has access. Okay, good. But I don't know anymore because I'm not the manager. Or this
Mhm.
person shift over to this group. And we have all that workflow. And we also have AI to help people understand if something's over permission.
Okay. I have a follow-up question. So you identify through an audit, okay, who's in there. What can you do anything about that if somebody is not supposed to be in there?
Yeah, the product works both ways. It works, passively where it goes all the way up to back to the GRC manager, and they say, "Great, here's my report." And believe it or not, that's how most companies work it, okay? Because they wanna see the report, and then they'll do their into their system, and they'll delete the users or delete the roles. Or if the user hits a button, it can immediately remove the user out of systems such as Okta and Entra ID and immediately remove those permissions. The
Okay.
GRC manager can, not that one running the UATest admin, not the reviewer.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. So, what industry trends are you seeing and how is it impacting your business strategy today?
Um, that's a great question. I am seeing more and more um, external external conducting of these types of controls, of identity controls and identity governance controls. Okay. What do you mean external? I mean consultants, the large consulting firms, the small consultancies, and even the mom and pop consultant shops, who are real big in governing risk and compliance. And a lot of them are referral partners to UATest. That and the MSP, managed service providers, they're getting into this space of providing the services for enterprises. Because enterprises are like, yeah, everyone's running lean. They got what they need. Yeah, I got a guy who kind of helps out in the email. I got a guy kind of helps out with the devices. You say, okay, but you're under HIPAA, you're under FFIC, you're under PCI DSS, you're under, you're supposed to be following NIST 853 because you're working with the government. How are
Mhm.
you? How are you managing? Where are your reports? They don't have the staff. So we see outsourcers managing things who are experts in them, and we work with them all the time. So what we did to address that is not only did we say, okay, and train these guys, we built multi-tenanted services for the MSPs and the consultants that they can go on, they can train one FTE, which is how it's supposed to work. You train one FTE, and then he manages multiple customers.
Mhm.
That's the new MSP consultant. And just to be succinct, because we're working with them, MSSPs, managed security service providers who become trained in our product and then offer this as a service to the MSPs.
Mhm. Okay. So let's shift a little bit to your leadership journey. You started you attest about 5 years ago, correct?
That is correct.
And how's that going? How has your journey been with this product, with the market?
It's been different because I was an engineer for many years. I was a programmer out of Austin, Texas, had a great time with IBM, Motorola, Tandem Computers, small shops, the whole 9 yards. Then I became an SE, and I love being an SE, sales engineer. I was just talking to a couple of buddies this morning. Fantastic position to learn how the sales works. And then
Mhm.
from that journey, I went on to be a CTO and product lead at a couple of companies. And, when this idea came up, I said, "What the heck? I'll be a CEO." Okay?
Okay.
And that journey has been interesting because it is where do I put my mental resources? Where do I decide that I need help? And where do I decide, Garrett, you gotta become better at that yourself?
Mhm.
And that's been a real interesting. I'm very comfortable at being an engineer. Okay, I'll do the operating system, you do the GUI. Very, very comfortable with that type of mentality because that's how engineers work. But as
Mhm.
CEO, I really do think, especially in an emerging company, you have to be cognitive and at least versed. I didn't say you have to do it all, but versed in every aspect of what the operation does. And
Sure.
that way you can, you know, understand with via metrics and understand whether that part of the business is actually performing.
So what's working well for you right now and what's been frustrating?
Yeah, I would say what's working well is customers relationships have like a 93% retention rate because we're, myself and the team I put around me is really, really good with listening to customers. We do a QBR, mandatory QBR every quarter, but I talk to my customers more than that. Okay. where we just take in their input. It decides what the product's going to be. We review what we're doing in the future with them, and then they give us suggestions. That's going really well. The ongoing working with referral partners is going really well.
Mhm.
Whereas, I run a podcast myself called Audit Tuesday, and most of those people are people from the governance, risk, and compliance space, and they run compliance for their customers. So they're always interested in the latest topic, be it AI governance or new regulations around defense, CMMC or something. They're always good for a talk. Now,
Mhm.
what we're working on, and we've talked directly, is leads. How do we bring more leads into UATest, and then how does UATest actually manage those? And that's something that we're going through a rebuild process right now internally. And that's, and getting myself up to speed about what should be the expectations and what a good enterprise actually does to handle those.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I guess that might answer my next question about what metrics are you focused on improving?
Yeah, I would say the number of leads per week that are coming in, number and
Okay.
And then what we gotta do is break that down, right? Well,
Mhm.
always, there's conversations because I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and the social media, so people just ping me back from there, or I'm pinging them then, with that. But I'm saying just organic leads that someone says, "Hey, found this. We're looking for someone that did Microsoft file sharing audits, and your tool looks good," or we're in this user access review and they fill out the contact page. That's
Mhm.
the metrics that I'm looking at, how we increase.
Okay. So, and how do you convince enterprises to rethink identity foundations?
I don't that's, you know, get that that's, maybe something that people at Identiverse and all that. What I'm doing is saying, you should be reviewing users. Most people in cybersecurity are intelligent. You simply can't be in there to not be intelligent. What they don't know what they don't know. They know they should be reviewing users. They don't know there's a tool available that could allow them to do that with the staff they have today. They're like, "Yeah, there's no question I should be looking at my identity. There's no better question I should do a better job reviewing. I just don't have the staff and I don't have the time personally." And that's where we come in and go, "Hold it. Your initial assumptions are correct.
Mhm.
You are missing something. You should be reviewing your users. And with this automated tool, you actually can."
Mhm. Okay. So, if you could solve one major challenge today, what would it be?
Uh, Major challenge today, what would be, is to universally articulate what the challenges are. Okay. So people understand that they have the challenge, but what the solutions are. And that's where, a smaller solution, and I do these podcasts like this and webinars myself to let people understand that you are correct, dear, cyber, security guy, Mr. and Mrs. GRC person. You are correct that you need to address these. There are solutions like UATest that are ready for you to get those implemented right away.
Mhm. Okay. Now, where do you want to be 6 to 12 months from now with you a test?
I would say we're doing some great work with the MSP, MSSP, and consulting environment. I look forward to keep pushing that. And then I'm also doing a lot of work on integration on AI GRC. And where is that intersection? The intersection is one of the most important and overlooked spaces of AI is the service accounts that actually have the permissions and are granted the permissions via agentic AI and what
Mhm.
they're able to do and who has access to these and all that, and they're not being reviewed. So the team and myself are doing a lot of work in that space.
Well, thank you for your time. And as we wrap up here, I'd like to make it a rapid fire fun closing. So, what do you think about passwords? Kill them or keep them for now?
I think they're fine. When people think about passwords and have to remember, well, Garrett, we should all do biometrics. Okay, just remember this about passwords. Passwords, at least you can change. You can't change your biometrics. So I don't think passwords are the solution, but I don't think the whole Garrett, we're gonna use biometrics and you will just do face scanning. And it's like, well, then that's kind of a problem, right? Because if someone steals your image of your face, blah, 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 and your retina and all that, then you're beholden to it. Okay. I honestly believe that authentication has been pushed pretty hard. Yeah, it would
Mhm.
be absolutely silly to say there's no, further investment. I'm just saying we have great authentication methods. What people have to remember is a lot of the hackers aren't worried about the authentication. They're stealing the session ticket that once you're already logged on. So you can, make the people do the double nose twitch and everything. It won't matter. They still are going to steal your session ticket and impersonate you, because what the authentication does, what the application does, it converts the authentication into an identifier, a session ticket that the application understands. And that's
Mhm.
why zero trust is this, that says it's not enough to say someone was authenticated 1 hour ago, 2 days ago, 6 months ago as a service account, and that we should trust it. We should do constant reauthorization.
Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Garrett, and for your insights. For listeners, check out youattest.com. Thank you for joining CEO Tech Talks. I hope today's conversation sparked new insights and inspiration for your own leadership journey. Until next time, stay inspired, stay visionary, and keep leading with light. Brought to you by Neura AI Consulting.